Hello, happiness abounder, and welcome back. Today and this week, I want to kick off an idea about overcoming procrastination. You know what I'm talking about. Overcoming that feeling where you know you have something you need to do, but then suddenly everything else feels a little more important. And that everything else is, I remember in being school days, I had a big report due, and suddenly the thing I never wanted to do, which was clean my room, became a high priority. And sometimes procrastination can come in the form of, well, I'm just going to watch this one episode of this show and then I'll get to work. And then 4 episodes later, then you're like, wow, now I really need to get on it. Now, sometimes procrastination can be a motivator and a driver, but I think for most of us, we know that we need to overcome our procrastination techniques to help us move through things faster and more efficiently and free up our emotional and mental mind space. So that said, that's what I want to talk about this week. And I specifically today want to talk about this idea of exploring the mindset of I have time. I think that there is a fine balance between taking the time to do things right and having the time set aside to do things right, and the idea that I have time, I'll get to that later. Now, this is not an episode and not a theme week to get you to be rushing into things or to think that sometimes procrastination is bad. Sometimes we need that little jolt of get it done last minute to go in and get things done. However, I think that when we don't have the mindset of I'll take the time I need, but we have the mindset of I have time, what happens is all those other things come into play. And that mindset of I have time really isn't that true. I don't know about you, but anytime I've said I have time, I'll get to that when I can, the next thing that pops up is something that doesn't really give me the time I thought I had. And sometimes those deadlines move, specifically when you're working with other people. So when you think you have the time and you really don't, then you are definitely thrown into this procrastination mode that can wreck everything. So I want to talk about this mindset of I have time. What do you think, or what is the situation when you think I have time, I'll get to that later? Right? Is it something small, something that doesn't really matter, or is it like that big project that you may not necessarily know how to do? Is it that yard work that you've been putting off for a while, so now it's just getting bigger and bigger, but I have time. It's still early in the summer. Nothing's going to come up on Saturday. I can do it then. Then, of course, a million things come up on Saturday that are a lot more fun than doing the yard work. Until you get the notice from the HOA and they say, get your yard work done, otherwise it'll be a fine. And then, what do you have? That procrastination energy to go out and get it done, and you find the time. When you had the time all along. But when we explore that mindset, I want you to take a look at what it is. Because I'm pretty sure it's not, I need to tidy something up that I know how to do. In most cases, it's something we don't know how to do, or it's something that feels like such a big and overwhelming project that we want to keep putting it off and putting it off. Going back to like being in school example, doing a singular math problem versus studying for an entire test, you could knock out the singular math problem in, if you're me, 10 minutes. Others maybe 2. But you get where I'm going with this. There's a small amount of time that it takes to do one. But if we're studying for a big test, we're like, nope, we're just going to wait till the last minute because there's so much going on. I have so much other homework. I need to clean my room. I need to get ready for this. I need to do this. And then the day before the big test, we're cramming. And we do that in our lives a lot. And I think the thing is that we've seen that pay off. I know for me, I've studied for tests last minute, been able to memorize what I needed to memorize, and then as soon as the test is done, it's gone from my head. And I found that I did that, and I was still getting good grades. So it was like I was getting rewarded for procrastinating. But the truth of it is, in real life now, outside of school, whenever I find myself procrastinating, it's because it's a big project I don't know how to do, and I drag my feet on it, and then I end up allowing it to take so much more emotional and mental and physical energy from me. because I'm dreading it. I'm dragging my feet. I'm procrastinating. And I'm hoping, because I've been trained, that if I can just do it last minute and knock it out, then I'll be successful. And I may be, but I may not. And I may have waited so long that there's no room to turn and to pivot, and it could have compromised a project. So as we look at overcoming procrastination this week, which we will dive deep, don't you worry, we'll always dive deep. But I want you to look at the types of circumstances and the types of situations that you say, I have more time, comma, I'll get to that later. And as we dive into the rest of this week, we'll look at how important those tasks are, identifying our triggers and our actions of procrastination, because it can make a big difference. I will also look at why this thing that I'm procrastinating against makes me feel uncomfortable. And lastly, we'll talk about how you can work through overcoming procrastination once you have the mindset right, how you can actually physically have something to help you work through procrastination every day so that you can move forward and have that good momentum without all that extra emotional, energetic, mental baggage and physical baggage. Because I think sometimes we even make ourselves sick, or I don't feel well, I'm not going to work on that today. I've done that. I have, and I wish I hadn't. And that's something that I really have worked on to overcome procrastination. So I'm really happy and excited to share that with you this week. So that said, think about those situations, those circumstances. Think about the times when you say, I have time, I'll do that later. And really what those triggers are. What situations do you start to think that about as a form of procrastination? And really, I want to ask, do you think you procrastinate? Because there's people who are self-proclaimed procrastinators, and that's part of who they are, and they really thrive off that energy. But then there's the rest of us who are like, hey, I'm procrastinating, and this is just about killing me. But I'm so scared about it, or I'm so worried about it, or so overwhelming and big that I can't move forward, right? And I think whether you're either of those, neither one is good or bad. It's just a situation, and you can choose if you want to overcome it or not. But I encourage you to listen to the rest of this week's episodes and work through the system with me to see if you could overcome procrastination when it may be a negative thing in your life. But that all starts by identifying the situations, the circumstances that start you on that path to procrastination. So if you want to, I would be honored and delighted to hear what types of situations put you on that path to procrastination. So you can reach me at highestlevelhappinessabound.com. There's a contact form there. I'd love to have an email correspondence with you. You can also send me a DM at happiness_abound on Instagram and Happiness Abound blog on Facebook. I'm usually pretty quick to respond. And again, I would love to hear what situations do you trigger that mindset of I have time as a form of procrastination. So that said, have a wonderful day. Look for those situations. But above everything else, remember, you are capable of happiness abound.